This is why you should be training more legs if you want to lose more body fat, especially more belly fat. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bobby O'Brien. I help men lose their stubborn belly fat and get a flat stomach without having to track or count or restrict a single calorie. And if you want to do exactly that, I really highly recommend that you stick around to the end of this video, because I'm going to show you how you can use weight training, specifically weight training for your legs, to see incredible results without having to do any calorie counting. So the reason why training legs for the perspective of losing more in the way of body fat is just so prominent and just so beneficial is because you get such a large metabolic reaction in comparison to other muscle groups. If we were to compare the complex of our legs, our quadriceps, our hamstrings, our hip flexors, etc., and just put it all together and compare it to our biceps, for example, a much smaller muscle group, we're not going to get nearly as big of a metabolic reaction from training our biceps in comparison to training every muscle group in our legs. And the best way I like to describe the whole concept of building muscle to lose weight is by thinking about your muscles the right way. And the best way I like to think of muscles is really just as a big metabolic sponge, right? Which is really all your muscles are here, right? And this sponge can soak up glucose, right, in the way of muscle glycogen, which is a storage form of carbohydrates. And the demand for that fuel goes up as your muscles get bigger and bigger. As your muscles get bigger, that muscle glycogen gets bigger, and the demand for that glucose increases. And if the demand for fuel goes up, then so does your metabolic rate, and we can now burn more of the fuel that comes into our body, which is great. And it adds a whole lot more in the way of flexibility to our diet, especially for eating a diet in a way where we can get a good insulin response every single time we eat, where our likelihood of storing body fat is 0% or at least minimal. Every single time we eat, we're not spiking insulin. Instead, we're getting either no insulin response or a postprandial insulin response where it goes up and then goes back down just as fast as it comes up, right? If we're getting insulin responses like that with a diet that is mainly composed of higher fat, higher protein animal foods and naturally sourced carbohydrates, then we're going to be able to eat more of those foods if we are targeting each muscle group each week, and we're constantly expanding that metabolic sponge and making it grow bigger and bigger so it can soak up more and more glucose, and the demand for fuel can continue to go up. And that specific process for legs is very, very prominent, because let's just look at our quadriceps, for example. One of the bigger muscle groups in the body, for sure, by far, especially in comparison to the example that we used earlier with our biceps. And the whole concept, or the analogy, if you will, of really using our muscles here as that metabolic sponge, we're going to be able to soak up a lot more in the way of glucose with just our quadriceps in comparison to smaller muscle groups like our triceps and our biceps. So that's why training legs even just once per week will allow you to really notice a lot more in the way of flexibility with your diet if you're following a hormonal-based approach. And if you're not, and if you don't know what it is, I highly recommend for you to click the first link on the top of the video description, which goes over that approach in detail and how to use it specifically for your current weight loss goal. But getting back into it here, if you focus on using a hormonal-based approach the right way, you can really hone in on eating more of the foods that are going to benefit you while still getting a good insulin response and getting the benefits that come with training legs. And that's one of them for sure, right? Being able to eat more of the foods that serve you well. And that is by far the biggest reason why you want to be training more legs. And my clients that are in the health optimization program right now are usually doubling up on legs whenever it's time to make tweaks to their workout program, or if they want more. Such as my clients Dion and Steve, both guys here work in IT. Steve is an IT professional and Dion is an IT sales professional. Dion lost 20 pounds in the span of 6 months while completing north of 90% of his workouts. And Steve, he lost 40 pounds in a span of about 4 to 5 months and got a flat stomach while completing, once again, north of 90% of his workouts. Both of these guys completed north of 90% of their workouts. They didn't have to count or restrict a single calorie, and they were able to eat more food in comparison to the other programs and torture-oriented dieting methods that they've tried in the past that didn't allow them to see the sustainable and consistent results that they've seen in this program. And part of the reason was because we were doubling up on their leg workouts when it was time to make the right adjustments to their workout regimen. And both of these guys were actually asking for more workouts because they enjoyed it so much. So that's why making weight training the main component of your training routine is going to be so important, because many of us guys, let's be honest, at least most of us can agree that it is a little bit more enjoyable, if anything, a lot more enjoyable to be doing some bicep curls or some goblet squats in comparison to running aimlessly on the treadmill for 30 to 45 minutes at 6 in the morning. One sounds pretty nice, one sounds honestly pretty fun, even though it's a little bit difficult, and the other sounds like torture. And if you're doing that 5 to 6 times per week, you're only going to be able to do that for so long until you crash and burn, and you're not even going to get as much in the way of those metabolic benefits that you would be getting from weight training, especially training your legs, right? You're not going to be getting those same benefits or as much of those benefits whenever you're just running aimlessly on the treadmill or doing any other form of cardio that's not going to allow you to get that big boost. I'm not saying you shouldn't do cardio at all. There's a lot of great benefits that come with it: a cognitive boost, a boost in cardiovascular health, a boost in your endurance, but you don't necessarily get the same metabolic boost that you would be getting from weight training, especially when it comes to doing leg-oriented exercises, goblet squats, lunges, split squats, quadricep-specific leg exercises for sure, and then of course RDLs, calf raises, leg curls, and all the other leg exercises that target every other muscle group in the legs are going to help you get a much stronger, much more prominent metabolic reaction in comparison to just running on the treadmill. So that's basically it for this video. I just wanted to share with you why you should be training more legs and some of the guys that have been seeing success in the program. And if you want to be one of those guys and start seeing consistent and sustainable weight loss and get that flat stomach without doing as much in the way of cardio and without having to counter restrict a single calorie, then I highly recommend for you to click the link on the top, middle, or bottom of the video description. It's still on the very top, but the Calendly link is somewhere there. You'll see it to book a call with me one-on-one directly. You can click there to book to see if I can help you get that flat stomach so you can lose your stubborn belly fat consistently and sustainably with a plan that's going to work for your busy schedule that will not feel like torture and instead will just feel like a lifestyle change. But other than that, that's pretty much it for this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at itsbobbyobrien. The link to that will be in the middle of the video description, and I will see you guys in the next video.